Story 1. I live in Cape Girardeau, Missouri. Been here most of my life. I used to drive for a medical supply company, and every now and then I had to take the back roads into Kentucky. That meant passing through Cairo, Illinois. If you've never been through Cairo, it's not really a town anymore. It's like a corpse someone forgot to bury. The buildings look bombed out, sidewalks are buckled, every window either broken or boarded. Not abandoned like some cute ghost town, just dead. But the worst part is how empty it is, like even the animals moved out. This happened in 2019, September, late afternoon. I had a delivery in Paducah but stopped for gas outside Thebes. I needed to pee and stretch my legs. My GPS rerouted me through Cairo, some construction or maybe an accident on A57. I don't know. I normally avoid Cairo, but I figured I'd save time. The road in is cracked and overgrown. You drive past what used to be neighborhoods, but now it's all collapsed roofs and trees growing inside old houses. No one around. Even the air smells off, kind of like mildew and dust, but sweeter, like rotting fruit. Anyway, I'm driving slow because the potholes are brutal. I pass what looks like an old bank with vines crawling up the side. Then I see this kid in the road, just standing there, maybe 10 years old, wearing a brown hoodie that looked too big for him. His back was to me. I hit the brakes and honked, expecting him to run. But he didn't move, just kept standing there in the middle of the street. I pulled up alongside and rolled the window down. "You okay, buddy?" No response. I leaned over, trying to see his face. He still wouldn't turn around. Something about it made me feel sick to my stomach, like vertigo, but worse. Then he spoke, not turned around, not moving, just standing there like a statue. He said, "You shouldn't stop in Cairo." Just like that, in this weird, dead monotone. I said, "You live around here?" No answer. I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to just drive off and leave a kid in the road. But there were no houses with lights, no stores, no cars. The whole place felt like it had been underwater for 100 years. So I parked the van and got out. As soon as my boots hit the pavement, I regretted it. The wind changed or something. It got quiet. No bugs, no birds, not even the sound of my van engine ticking as it cooled. Just nothing. I took a few steps toward the kid. "Hey, do you need help? Are your parents?" He turned around. But here's the thing. It wasn't like a normal turn. It was like he rotated slowly, like a puppet. No movement in his shoulders or legs, just his head turning too far before his body followed. His hoodie fell open a little, and I swear to you, his skin wasn't right. Pale like paper, but also swollen, like he'd been soaking in water for days. His eyes were all wrong. The whites weren't white. They were gray, like ash. Pupils blown out, too wide. He opened his mouth like he was going to scream, but nothing came out. Just this horrible sound like air hissing through wet cloth. I stepped back, heart hammering. Hey, what the hell?" That's when the building started creaking. Not just one, all of them. Like the whole street was waking up. Boards groaned, glass cracked. I looked around and saw shadows moving inside the empty buildings. Not people, shapes. Crawling along the insides of the walls like something stuck between this world and the next. The kid took a step toward me, not walking, dragging his foot like it didn't bend right. Then another voice came, from behind me, from one of the buildings. It whispered, "He's not the only one." I ran. I didn't even think about it. I jumped in the van, didn't bother closing the door all the way, just floored it. I hit something as I turned the corner. I don't know if it was a trash can or something else. I didn't stop to check. Cairo's layout is all twisted and warped, but I didn't care. I just kept going. Ran red lights, went over curbs. Eventually, I found the bridge and got the hell out of there. I didn't look back. I couldn't. When I got to a gas station in Bardwell, I pulled over and threw up in the parking lot. Some guy tried to help me, asked if I was having a heart attack. I just shook my head and sat there with my head between my knees. I told my boss I blew a tire and had to reroute. That wasn't true, obviously, but I couldn't explain it. Still can't. I've read about Cairo since. People say it's cursed. Some say it's just poverty and politics. Some say it's built on a burial ground. I don't know. I just know I'll never drive through there again. And here's the worst part. Story 2. I live in Augusta, Georgia. Not exactly a big city, but big enough that you don't really notice how creepy quiet can be until you step outside it. My friend Marcus had been obsessing over this power supply his Xbox needed, and apparently the only place within 100 miles that had it in stock was a GameStop out in Edgefield, South Carolina. I'd heard the name once or twice, mostly in weird old hunting stories or history class, but never actually been. We left late morning. I remember because my phone buzzed with a weather alert about fog near the river. By the time we hit Edgefield around 1:30 p.m., the fog had cleared, but the town might as well have still been under a sheet. Not a single person, I'm not exaggerating. No cars at the red light. No one coming out of the Piggly Wiggly. Gas station, 2 pumps, lit up, not a soul. Even the subway had an open sign lit, but no one behind the counter. Marcus laughed and said, "Is this place even real?" I didn't laugh. It was eerie in a way I can't fully explain. Like the buildings were watching us, like we shouldn't be there. We didn't stop except for gas on the way back. Just kept our heads down and moved through. We picked up the part in Aiken, grabbed some fast food, and didn't think much of Edgefield again until night started falling. We were cutting back the same way just after 9 p.m. By then, we were both tired and ready to be home. Except Edgefield wasn't the same place. We hit the city limits and suddenly, cars. I mean traffic like you'd see on a weekend downtown. Headlights bouncing off the pavement. People on foot walking in and out of convenience stores that had been ghostly that afternoon. The gas station that had been silent now had 2 cars per pump and folks hanging around outside. We slowed to a crawl because the street was jammed. Windows rolled down. You could hear laughter, conversation, even music somewhere. But something was off. Not the usual buzz of a small town out late, more like a party you weren't invited to. Marcus leaned forward, squinting. "Wasn't that place boarded up earlier?" he asked, pointing to an old pharmacy. He was right. It had been completely shuttered, with broken signs and graffiti. Now the windows were clean, bright, and inside people moved, but something about how they moved was wrong. I said, "Let's just get through here." We crept along, and that's when I noticed the faces. Everyone out there, young, old, didn't matter. They all looked similar. Same kind of pale, drawn look. Their eyes caught the headlights like animal eyes. Most of them didn't blink when we passed, just turned their heads in perfect sync to watch us. A group of teenagers stood outside what looked like a bar. One of them smiled at us, way too wide, and didn't stop even after we passed. I looked in the side mirror and he was still facing us, grinning like a wax figure. Marcus whispered, "What the fuck is this?" We reached the center of town and the air felt heavier, like breathing soup. I swear to God it smelled like rust and something sweet, like overripe fruit. That's when I noticed the clock tower. It hadn't been working earlier, I'd swear to it. Now it was lit up bright red, and the hands were spinning. I mean spinning. So fast you couldn't even see what time it was. Then I saw the woman. She was standing dead center in the crosswalk as we were inching past the courthouse. No expression, pale as hell, wearing a black dress that looked older than anything I've seen in real life, like something out of a funeral photo from the 1800s. She was staring straight at us, not moving. We stopped. Marcus said, "Do we go around her?" I said nothing. I couldn't take my eyes off her face. She opened her mouth slowly, slow, like it hurt to do it. Her jaw dropped too far, way too far, and something black came pouring out. Not blood. It looked like smoke or ash, but it moved like it was alive. It started crawling toward the car. I slammed my foot on the gas. We clipped the curb and nearly hit a street sign but got past her. I didn't look back. Marcus was yelling, panicked, full-on screaming, telling me to go faster, but it felt like we were moving through sludge. Everything outside the car was still moving normally, but the car felt slow, like something was pulling it back. And that's when every streetlight in town blinked off. Not all at once, one by one as we passed. The glow behind us kept shrinking, and ahead of us was pitch black. The people on the sidewalks were still visible somehow, just silhouettes now, all of them facing the car, watching us pass. I swear they weren't walking anymore, just standing there. It felt like miles, but we finally cleared the town limits. One second there were buildings, the next, woods. And then everything was quiet, just crickets. Normal night sounds. We didn't say a word for at least 10 minutes. Then Marcus pulled out his phone and said, "Dude." He turned the screen toward me. He typed in Edgefield SC into Google. The first autocomplete result, Edgefield, South Carolina vampire town. Swear to God, he didn't even finish typing. I got chills all over. I didn't ask him to click it. I didn't want to know. I haven't driven that route since. Even if you paid me, I wouldn't go back through Edgefield. Story 3, I grew up in Sandpoint, Idaho. Real outdoorsy place. Hunting, fishing, snowmobiling, all that. I'm not really the social type, so most weekends I'm out in the forest with my dirt bike, clearing my head. It's what keeps me sane. Anyway, this happened late September, 2 years ago. I haven't told many people about it. Not because I'm scared they won't believe me. I don't even care about that. But because just talking about it makes me feel like something's still watching. I had a Saturday off, decent weather, and I figured I'd go ride a trail out past Trestle Creek. There's a Forest Service road that climbs all the way up into the Selkirks. I'd been up there a few times, but that day I took a detour. Some overgrown side trail I must have passed a dozen times without noticing. Don't ask me why I turned off. I couldn't tell you. It wasn't curiosity. It felt more like something was nudging me. I went about 20 minutes in, the trees getting tighter, the air dead still, not even birds. That's when I saw it. This town, a whole damn town. Looked like something out of a Western. Boardwalks, old hitching posts, a saloon-looking building, even a blacksmith shop. The weirdest part? It was spotless. Not old and crumbling like you'd expect. No graffiti, no broken windows. It looked used. I slowed the bike to a stop, killed the engine. That's when I realized I'd been hearing my own heartbeat. That place was silent. No wind, no bugs, nothing. I thought maybe it was one of those preserved historical towns, like a living museum or something, but it was too far out. No roads, no signage, no trash cans, no donation boxes. And it wasn't marked on any of my maps, paper or digital. I parked the bike near what looked like a general store and started walking. There were curtains in the windows, real curtains, clean. I got this feeling in my gut, like I wasn't supposed to be there, like walking into someone's house uninvited. I almost turned around, but then I heard something. A door creaked open, maybe 50 feet to my right. I looked. The door to the saloon was swinging slowly, like someone had just stepped inside, but no one came out. I stared for a few seconds. "Hello," I said like an idiot. Nothing. I walked over, stupidly curious now. As soon as I stepped onto the wooden porch, I heard footsteps upstairs. Not loud, just soft enough to make me freeze. Like someone pacing. The hairs on my arms stood up. I backed off the porch real slow, got on my bike, and kicked it until the engine turned over. Then I saw someone watching me from one of the upper windows. I couldn't see their face, just the shape of a person behind the lace curtain, perfectly still, like they'd been standing there the whole time. I turned the throttle and got the hell out of there. Didn't even look back. Rode for what felt like an hour before I got back to where I'd unloaded the trailer. When I got home, I told my dad. He's lived here his whole life. I said, "Hey, you ever heard of a ghost town up past Trestle Creek? What's the western-looking place?" He got real quiet. Didn't even look up from his beer. Just said, "Yeah, I've heard of it." I waited for more, but he didn't say anything else. "What is it?" He took a long drink. "You weren't supposed to find that." I laughed a little. Thought he was messing with me. "No, seriously, what's the story?" He stared straight ahead, then said, "That town's been there a long time. No roads lead to it, no power, no water. It's not on any maps. Locals call it Haven's Nest. It's private land, but nobody knows who owns it. Best to just stay away." I said, "Is it abandoned?" He shook his head. "No." I waited. He finally looked at me. "People say they still see lights there, smoke from chimneys, but no one's ever seen anyone actually enter or leave." I didn't sleep that night. Next morning, I checked satellite maps, old land records, nothing. That stretch of forest is just listed as undesignated private property. I even went back the next weekend with a buddy. Followed the same route, same trail. It wasn't there. No town, no buildings, just thick forest like it had always been. I walked the area for an hour, found my own tire tracks, even the spot where I'd parked the bike the week before. But where the town had been, there was nothing but pine needles and trees. The weird part? I found something left behind. Right where I'd seen the saloon door swing open, there was a horseshoe. Fresh looking, not rusty, still smelled like iron, clean like it had just been dropped. I didn't touch it. We left, didn't speak the whole drive back. 2 weeks later, I saw the town again. Driving home from Bonner's Ferry, I was passing a tree line near Roman Nose when I saw rooftops between the pines. Just for a second. But I knew it was the same place. Same peaked roof, same red window shutters. There's no way it could be there. But it was. I've had dreams since then. Always the same. I'm riding back up that trail, but this time I go inside the saloon. The stairs creak. There's a shadow on the landing. Then I wake up cold, heart hammering. I've asked around quietly. Most people shrug, say I was probably near the old mine ruins. But one old-timer at the feed store, Randy, he gave me a look when I brought it up. "You saw it?" he asked. I nodded. He said, "I saw it once. When I was your age. I didn't go inside either." Then he whispered like it was a confession. "Nobody who goes in ever comes back down. I haven't ridden up that way since. I won't. If you ever find yourself deep in the woods of North Idaho and stumble across a perfectly preserved ghost town that shouldn't be there, get back on your bike. Don't stop. Don't explore. Don't look in the windows." Story 4. I live in Hot Springs, Arkansas. Born and raised. Nothing special about me. I'm 35, work in HVAC, drive a beat-up Silverado, and know enough to never trust a town with a name like Social Hill. But I did. Once. My girlfriend at the time, Paige, was the kind who never used GPS. She thought she had a good sense of direction, whatever that means. We were heading back from Little Rock late after visiting her sister. I told her to stay on the interstate, but she insisted the back roads were prettier at night. I was tired. I let her drive. Dumbest decision I ever made. It started when we passed that small green sign, Social Hill. I hadn't heard of it, and that should have been the first red flag. I've lived here my whole life. Never once heard anyone mention it. Not even in those weird Arkansas towns Facebook threads. The road got narrower and twistier. Trees got thick, black against the sky. No lights, not even porch ones. You ever notice that? Even the most rural places have 1 or 2 yellow porch lights. Not here, just darkness. We drove for 10, maybe 15 minutes. I asked her, "Where the hell is this going?" She shrugged, said we'd come out near Malvern eventually, but then the pavement ended, just like that. One moment we're on a road, next we're bumping down a long gravel stretch through woods. No signs. "I think this is a driveway," I said. "No, it's not," she replied, but her voice cracked. Then we saw the trailer. It was just sitting there at the bottom of a hill, one dim light inside. No cars, but kids. There were kids outside, 6 or 7 of them standing still, barefoot, pale, all blonde, all with the same haircut, like they'd been trimmed with a bowl. They weren't playing or talking, just staring. "Paige, back up, now." She didn't move. "Paige." Then one of the kids tilted their head, slow, like a dog hearing a high sound. Then another, then all of them. I said, "Put it in reverse." "Right now." She finally did. Wheels spun a little on the gravel, then we started backing up. Then I swear to God, they moved. Not like kids run. It wasn't running. It was like they snapped forward. 1 second they were standing by the trailer, next second they were halfway up the hill. No noise, just blur. Paige screamed. I grabbed the wheel and floored it. I didn't care if we hit a tree. We just had to go. When we made it back to the paved road, I didn't even stop. I kept going past the interstate entrance, kept driving for 5 more miles, all woods and blackness and empty silence. Then we passed a trailer on the left with a dog carcass in front of it. Fresh. Its eyes were still open. A mile later, another one. Different dog, same thing. No blood, just twisted, like its body had been dropped from 20 feet in the air. Paige didn't say a word the whole time. Neither did I. We didn't talk about it for days. When we finally did, it was at a diner near Lake Hamilton. I asked her, "Do you remember what the kids' faces looked like?" She nodded. I said, "They all look the same, right?" She said, "No, they didn't." That's what scared me. They looked like people we know. "What do you mean?" She looked up, dead serious. "One of them looked like my sister's kid." I laughed, not because it was funny, just because I didn't know how else to react. We broke up not long after. Never mentioned Social Hill again. Story 5. I never should have gone in. I live in Desert Center. Not much going on out here. Just a gas station, a post office that never has stamps, and a lot of people pretending they aren't waiting to die. The desert makes people weird, and I'm no exception. On weekends, I drive around exploring ghost towns, dead towns, places that once mattered. That's how I ended up in Bombay Beach. I'd seen it in a doc on YouTube, lumped in with Slab City like some freak sideshow. The place was supposed to be full of washed-up artists and squatters playing house in bombed-out shacks. I figured it'd be interesting, maybe even fun. Took my camera, a flask, and a tire iron just in case. It was around 3 p.m. when I got there, but the sky already looked weird. Yellowish like old teeth. There was barely any wind, and the air felt thick, like it was trying to press me back into my car. I should have left when I saw that house. You know how people say places can feel off? Not haunted, not even dangerous, just wrong? That's what Bombay Beach was. It didn't feel abandoned. It felt like it was waiting for something. I parked near a shack with "Hills Have Eyes" spray painted across the front in red. Real subtle. There were broken toys in the yard, a sun-bleached tricycle facing the front door like it was still waiting for someone to ride it. I stepped around it and pushed the door open. Inside, everything was caved in and rotten. Graffiti covered the walls, some of it just tags, but there were symbols too. Circles with X's, words scratched in with something sharp like "Do not sleep here," and "He's in the wall." Standard urban explorer bullshit, I figured. Then I stepped into the kitchen. I don't know what made me go in. Curiosity, boredom, maybe just ego. But I remember everything about that room like it's burned into me. The table was set, 4 plates, fresh bread, a bowl of apples, 2 cans of open tuna, still wet. The smell was strong, too strong to be old. One of the forks had a bite of bread and tuna on it like someone had just put it down. There was even condensation on a glass of water. That's when I heard the sound upstairs. Not creaking, not wind. A step. Slow, deliberate. I froze, listened, another step. Then silence. I whispered, "Hello?" Like an idiot. No answer. My stomach felt like it dropped a foot. I should have run, but I didn't want to make noise. So I just stood there looking at that stupid table. My brain couldn't wrap around it. Everything in that room said someone was here now. Then the floor above groaned again. 2 steps this time. I backed up slowly toward the front door, trying not to breathe too loud. I had 1 foot on the porch when I heard a click from the hallway behind me, like a light switch. I turned. The hallway was pitch black, but I could swear I saw a figure at the far end. Not moving, not coming toward me, just standing. Still. I didn't move either. Then I saw it tilt its head. Just a little. Left like it was trying to understand me. "Hey," I said, and my voice cracked. "I don't want trouble. I thought this place was empty." No answer. And then, this part, I swear on my mother, I blinked and it was closer, like 6 feet closer. No sound, just moved. I bolted, ran out, slammed my shin on the tricycle, cursed, kept running until I hit my car. The engine took 3 tries to turn over, and the whole time I could feel something behind me, like if I turned around, it'd be there. Just watching, not even chasing me, just waiting. When I finally peeled out, I didn't look back, not once. I drove all the way to Mecca before I stopped, threw up outside a gas station, and sat in my car shaking for 20 minutes. Now here's the part that keeps me up. 3 days later, I pulled the photos off my camera. I hadn't even thought to check them. Most were junk, shots of the drive, the desert, some old signs. But then I got to one I don't remember taking. It's a photo of the kitchen, the one with the food. But in this one, all 4 chairs are pulled out, like people had just stood up. And there's a man in the hallway, barefoot, head tilted, just standing there, looking straight at the camera. I've never been back. Never told anyone in town. What would I even say? Hey, remember that place where time doesn't work and strangers don't walk? They appear? I still have the photo. I don't show it to people. I don't look at it either, but I haven't deleted it because I want to know I'm not crazy. Story 6, I live in Tampa. IT guy, mid-30s, nothing special about me. I'm not some ghost hunter or conspiracy theorist. I just had a long drive with my cousin Kyle. He was moving to Little Rock, and I figured I'd tag along, help him settle in, make it a road trip. It was July. Hot. We had the windows down most of the time, and it stank of pine, gasoline, and roadkill half the way through Georgia. We weren't taking the main highways either. Kyle's idea. Back roads have more character, he said. That's how we ended up in these tiny 2-stoplight towns where Dollar Generals outnumber people. You know the ones. Quiet. Everything closed by 7. Rusted swing sets, fading flags, and that thick, oppressive silence. Somewhere after crossing into southwest Georgia, we rolled into a place I still haven't found on any map. No GPS ping, no cell reception. I only remember the sign. Welcome to Madison Hollow, it said. Underneath were the usual Civic Club seals, Lions, Rotary, Kiwanis, then another. Red circle, white hooded figure, dead center, holding a sickle. Not a scythe, a sickle. The words curved around the top. Southwest Georgia Shadow Society. I thought it was some sick prank. Did you see that? I asked Kyle. Yeah, what the hell is that? He slowed down a little. You want to stop here or just keep going? I mean, it's the middle of nowhere. Might be the last gas we see for a while. We pulled into town, if you could even call it that. One main street, 5 buildings, and an old weather-worn gas station with a flickering light above the pump. No one in sight. There was a bell when we stepped inside the store. One of those tinny door chimes that rattled from the frame. The air stank of mildew and oil. Behind the counter sat an old man, silent, thin, pale, skin like crumpled paper. His eyes were the thing I remember most. Completely black, not just dark, black. He didn't greet us, didn't move, just stared. Kyle grabbed a soda. I went to the bathroom. The hallway was dim, lined with faded posters. One showed a parade. Shadow Day 1989, with people in white robes walking down a dirt road. Another one, Initiation, June 12th, 1995. A crowd stood in a circle, torches raised. I didn't look longer than a few seconds. Inside the bathroom, the mirror was cracked down the middle. Scrawled on the wall in Sharpie, "Leave before sundown." When I came back out, Kyle was already at the register. The old man hadn't said a word. You okay? I asked him under my breath. He nodded, but his eyes didn't move from the man behind the counter. Let's go, I said. We walked out in silence, got in the car and drove. 5 minutes later, the road curved hard right and we hit a blackout. Not just no streetlights, I mean total dark. Our headlights barely touched the trees. Then, thunk, 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 our tires hit something. We stopped. Did we just hit something? Kyle asked. I didn't see anything. We got out. That was the worst mistake. The road behind us was gone. Not like faded into the trees, gone. Pitch black like it was erased. The only visible thing was that red seal painted on the asphalt, just like the sign. A white hooded figure with a sickle, and around us in the trees, movement. I think we should get in the car, Kyle said. Then we heard them. Voices, low, humming, chanting in a language I don't know. Dozens of them, coming from every direction. Then light, tiny red glows from between the trees. Torches maybe, but too steady. They didn't flicker. They burned. I turned to Kyle and he was frozen, just standing there. Mouth open, eyes locked forward. I grabbed his arm and yanked him hard. "Snap out of it," I yelled. Then I saw what he was looking at. Figures, in robes, white, hooded, dozens of them standing in the trees, motionless. No faces, just dark holes under the hoods. Each held a sickle in one hand, pressed against their own throat, unmoving, like statues. And then, all at once, they turned to face us. Not like people turn, like mannequins getting yanked by wire. I screamed. I've never heard a sound like that come out of me. Kyle stumbled back toward the car, and I followed. Slammed the doors, locked them. The headlights cut through the fog now. Where'd fog come from? Then the engine died. Lights out, radio on, static. And from the speakers came a voice. Not loud, not angry, just calm. "You passed through what should not be remembered." We couldn't move. I tried to turn the key. Nothing. Then the static rose again, loud this time, piercing. Kyle banged on the dashboard. "Come on, come on!" Then, thud. Something hit the hood of the car. We both screamed. One of them was standing on the hood, head cocked, holding the sickle above our windshield, slowly dragging the blade across the glass, not breaking it, just screeching. I don't remember what I said. I don't remember what Kyle did. I just remember the car starting. Suddenly, out of nowhere, I floored it. The figure didn't fall off. It just vanished. The moment the tires hit pavement again, clean and freshly painted, like we'd never stopped, the road was back to normal. No more fog, no more chanting. We drove for 3 hours in total silence until we saw a Cracker Barrel. That's when we stopped. We went inside, ordered coffee, and just sat there, staring. Later, Kyle tried to Google Madison Hollow. Nothing. I tried to find that Southwest Georgia Shadow Society. Nothing. Just old forums with 1 or 2 mentions, people warning about a red seal on town signs, but no names, no locations. We never talked about it again. He stayed in Arkansas. I went back to Tampa. Story 7. Got it. Here's a 1,200-word, eerie first-person horror story based on a single terrifying incident in Niagara Falls, New York, told with realistic tone, suspense, and minimal description. Don't even be curious. I grew up in Jamestown, New York. Tiny, quiet, and boring, especially after I dropped out of SUNY Fredonia. Me and my buddy Eric needed a break, so we took a cheap weekend trip to Niagara Falls. Not for the honeymoon kitsch, just for a change of scene. We stayed at this youth hostel off 3rd Street, real bare-bones place, but clean. When we checked in, the woman behind the desk, mid-50s, kind face, long gray hair tied up in a bandana, handed us a free paper map of the town. She smiled and chatted like everyone's favorite aunt until her tone suddenly shifted. She pulled out a red pen and drew a crooked line down a street labeled 13th Street. "Don't go down this road," she said. "Don't even go close to it. Don't be curious, just don't." I thought she was joking. "Why?" I asked. She didn't smile. "Just stay away and try to be back before dark." I remember how still the room got. It wasn't dramatic, just real quiet. That night, after dinner at some rundown diner, we walked around town. It was mostly dead, shops shuttered, streetlights flickering. There's something about upstate New York towns that feels like they're holding their breath. Eric had the map folded in his back pocket. I asked him to pull it out to find a liquor store. As he unfolded it, he said, "What's the big deal with this street anyway?" I didn't answer. "We're not going to do anything. Just walk past it." I didn't want to, but I didn't want to look like a coward either. So we went. We turned left onto Buffalo Avenue, and the street started to feel different, quiet in a way that wasn't peaceful. We didn't see any cars, not parked, not moving, just rows of rotting buildings and street lamps that buzzed like they were shorting out. When we reached 13th Street, we stopped at the corner. There was no street sign, just a black, rusted pole where one should have been. "I don't like this," I muttered. Eric stepped forward and leaned his head around the corner. "There's nothing there, man, just dark." He turned to me. "Let's walk 1 block down, just 1 block." I should have said no, I didn't. So we crossed the invisible line. The second we stepped onto 13th, the air changed. I don't know how to explain it. Like being inside a building with no windows. Pressurized, still, heavy. It smelled faintly metallic. The houses were old but not abandoned. Curtains were drawn, lawns were trimmed, lights were off. Too neat, too untouched. I whispered, "Why does it feel like someone's watching?" Eric didn't answer. He just stared ahead. That's when we saw him, middle of the block, standing on the sidewalk. A man, tall, skinny, pale. Not albino pale, paper pale. His mouth hung slightly open, like he was mid-sentence or had just been caught off guard. But he wasn't looking at us. He was looking slightly above us, like he was watching something behind us. He didn't move. Eric whispered, "Hey." I grabbed his arm. "Don't." We started backing up. That's when the man moved. Not like a normal person. It was wrong. One moment he was 20 feet away. The next, he took a single step, and he was half that. No in between. Just there. I didn't scream. I couldn't. My legs locked up. Eric whispered, "What the hell is that?" I said, "Run." And we did. But as we turned and ran, I glanced back. There was a second man. Same building, same pale skin, same dead eyes, but crouching, almost squatting on top of a telephone pole. I swear to God, he didn't move like he climbed up there. It was like he belonged there. He tilted his head, just a little, like he was tracking us. We ran like hell, full sprint. I don't know how long or how far. The second we crossed back over that invisible line, the air shifted back, lighter, like stepping out of a pressure chamber. We collapsed on someone's porch 2 blocks down. Didn't say a word, just gasped and listened for footsteps. There were none. Eventually, we made it back to the hostel. The woman at the desk didn't even look surprised when she saw us. Just said, "You went, didn't you?" We didn't answer. She shook her head and said, "That street takes things from people. Curiosity, time, sometimes worse." That night, Eric couldn't sleep. Neither could I. He kept saying, "There was a second one. You saw it, right? Up high." I nodded. He whispered, "They weren't people." I never went back to Niagara Falls. I avoid even driving near it. I don't talk about this to anyone. Ever, except now. And the weirdest part? The street doesn't exist on Google Maps. Not anymore. I checked a few months ago. There's a gap between 12th and 14th. Like someone erased it. Or like it never wanted to be found in the first place. Story 8. I grew up in Tonopah. Most people have never heard of it, and if they have, it's because of that creepy clown motel, the one with the graveyard right across the road. I still live here, born and raised. My family's been here since the mining days. My name's Derek, and I manage a hardware store now, same one my dad ran. Locals don't talk much about the cemetery. It's just there, rows of cracked wood markers and faded stones. But there's one grave that people really don't talk about. Even the town drunks sober up when it's mentioned. I'm telling this now because I'm moving. My wife doesn't want our kids growing up here. And honestly, after what happened last year, I don't argue. I was helping dig a grave. We still do most of them by hand here. Small town, small funerals. This one was for a guy named Harold Blevins. Old loner. He died in his trailer from liver failure. No family. Sheriff said I'd get paid $100 to help with the burial. I've done a few over the years. Quiet, boring work. Nothing special. But when I got to the graveyard that morning, Sheriff Long was already there, leaning on the shovel like he'd been thinking hard. The weird thing? The hole was already halfway dug. "Someone start this?" I asked. He just shook his head. "Nope." I looked down. The dirt wasn't fresh. It looked like it had been dug years ago and just left open. Darker, damp, cold somehow, like the ground was breathing slow. "Let's just get it done," he muttered. We dug in silence. Then we hit something solid. Not a rock, more like wood. A casket, an old one. Sheriff went pale. "Hell no," he whispered, and we backed off a little. It wasn't deep. Someone had buried it shallow. The top was cracked open on one end, like it had been pried up from the inside. I'm not proud of this part, but I grabbed the lid and lifted it. Inside was a skeleton, half-rotted clothes, nails in the coffin lid scratched from the inside, and the thing was facing down, face in the pillow, back up. We both stood there, not talking. Sheriff finally said, "Cover it back. Leave it." "Why would someone bury him face down?" I asked. He wouldn't look at me, just picked up the shovel. So we did what he said. We put the dirt back, right over the bones. Didn't say a word. Then we moved 20 feet over and dug a new grave for Harold. He got buried with a proper ceremony, even if there were only 2 people there. But the next morning I get a call from Sheriff Long. "You need to come out here," he said. "Now." I pulled on my boots and drove straight out. The cemetery gate was open. Sheriff was standing by Harold's grave, except it wasn't a grave anymore. It was a hole again. I thought maybe an animal had dug it up, but the casket was still there, undisturbed. But the other grave, the face-down one, the dirt we'd packed down the day before, it was soft, like it had just been filled in. Even had our boot prints still there, except they weren't just ours anymore. There were more, smaller ones, bare feet, dozens, leading away from the grave and around Harold's plot in a wide circle. Not one of them broke the line, just circled over and over and over again, like something pacing. We didn't say anything. Not then. He just walked back to his truck, left without another word. That night I didn't sleep. I felt cold even with the heat on. The kind of cold that comes from under your skin. I don't scare easy, but at 3 in the morning, I drove out there again. I had to see if it was still like that. I parked by the gate and walked with a flashlight. When I reached Harold's plot, I froze. The grave was open again, but the casket was empty. I turned around and my flashlight flicked over the face-down grave. The dirt looked like it had been burst from the inside, pushed out like someone had clawed their way up and crawled free. I heard movement behind me, gravel crunching slow, steady, like someone walking barefoot. I turned fast, but no one was there. Then I saw them. On the far side of the cemetery, near the edge of the fence, something crouched low, pale, human-shaped, but wrong. Its back was hunched, and its arms were too long. It didn't move like a person. It crept, dragged one leg. Its skin looked like old parchment, and its head twitched like a dog sniffing the air. It stopped moving. And I swear to you, it started digging, with its bare hands, in fast, desperate jerks. Not at Harold's grave, a different one, an older one. It knew I was there. I could feel it, the way you know when something's staring at you in the dark. I backed away, one step at a time, and then I ran. Didn't stop until I was back home. Doors locked, lights on. The next morning I went to the sheriff's office. "You saw it too," I said. He didn't answer, just handed me a file. Dusty, yellowed pages, newspaper clippings, local coroner reports from 1906. "Unnatural burial," they said. "Miner went mad. Killed 3 men. Buried alive by townsfolk. Face down. Nails through the lid. Kept saying he'd come back if they didn't trap his soul." One line stood out. "Grave must remain sealed. Do not uncover. Do not rebury." "I didn't know," the sheriff whispered. "I swear to God, I didn't know it was that one." But it didn't matter. We disturbed it. We let it out. Or maybe it was never really gone. I left town 2 weeks later, packed up my wife and kids, didn't tell anyone why. I haven't been back to Tonopah since, and I never will. Story 9. I live in Tacoma now, but this happened about 6 years ago when I was still in Vancouver, Washington. It's been sitting in the back of my head ever since, and I've never really told anyone the full story. Not because I'm scared no one would believe me, but because I still don't understand what happened, and I honestly don't want to. My dad found the place online, a 2-night family getaway, middle of July. We were supposed to disconnect, do some hiking, sit by the fire, that kind of thing. The cabin was in Rhododendron, Oregon, small town buried up by Mount Hood, less than 1,000 people maybe. You miss it if you blink too long. It was old but charming, wood everywhere, pine smell. My mom said it had character, which is code for dusty and weird. When we pulled up, it was quiet. I mean, too quiet. No birds, no wind, just Still. I noticed it right away. Something about the silence made my ears ring. There was a big window on the front of the cabin that faced the woods, and I remember not liking how black it looked, like it was watching us arrive. I chalked it up to being tired from the drive. The first day was normal. We unpacked, went for a short walk around the trails behind the house, had dinner. My dad burned the burgers, as usual. That night, we stayed up playing board games while rain started tapping on the roof. It felt cozy, normal. That didn't last. The first night I woke up around 3 a.m. to what sounded like footsteps on the porch. Not loud, just a slow, crunching walk. I was sleeping on the pull-out couch in the living room, right under that big window. There was no curtain, and it faced directly into the woods. I didn't move. I just stared at the ceiling and told myself it was an animal, a deer, maybe raccoons. But I knew it wasn't. The steps were too human, even, careful. And then they stopped, right outside the window. I held my breath. There was no shadow, no face, but I felt it. Something was out there watching. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. Next morning, I tried to bring it up casually at breakfast. "Hey, did anyone hear something outside last night?" My dad shook his head, chewing. "Rain and wind, probably. You city kids are soft." I let it go, but my mom didn't say anything. She looked up from her coffee just for a second. Not at me, at the window behind me. Second day was foggy, cold for July. We stayed in and played cards, drank cocoa like it was November. Around 5 p.m., the power flickered. Just once. Lights went out, came back 2 seconds later. My dad checked the breaker, said it was probably just old wiring, but after that, the mood shifted. That night, something changed. Heavier. The house felt like it was listening. We all went to bed early. No one said it, but we were tired of pretending it was fun. I laid there again on the pull-out, facing the window, and told myself I'd just keep my eyes closed no matter what. But around 2:45 a.m., I heard it again. The steps, same rhythm. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Slower this time. Then it started knocking. 3 soft knocks on the window. I sat up, heart punching my chest, and I stared out into the dark. I swear to God, I saw nothing. Nothing at all. Just blackness and the faint outline of trees. But the knocks kept going. Not loud. Tap, tap, tap. I whispered, "Dad?" Even though I knew it wasn't him. No answer. I got up, my legs shaking so hard I thought I'd collapse, and I crept to the hallway toward my parents' room. Before I could knock, I heard my mom's voice behind the door. She was whispering. "I told you," she said. "We shouldn't have come here." Then silence. I just stood there, my hands still raised. Then from the living room, the knocks again, louder, more impatient. Thump, thump, thump. Not on the window now, on the front door. I backed away from the hall and pressed my back against the wall. I didn't want to look. I didn't want to see whatever was on the other side. But the door never opened. After maybe a full minute, it stopped. Nothing. Total silence again, like the air itself was holding its breath. I sat on the floor until the sky started turning gray. And then, right before sunrise, I heard one more thing, coming from the woods this time. It was a voice, a woman's voice, distant, whispery. She said, "I see you." And then it laughed, dry and slow and broken. We left that morning. My dad said nothing, just packed the car while my mom stood on the porch, holding her coffee and staring into the trees like she was waiting for something. I didn't say goodbye to the house. None of us did. Back home, I asked my mom later, weeks later, what she meant that night behind the door. She didn't answer right away, just lit a cigarette and stared out the window. "I've been there before," she said. "When I was a kid, with my parents, we stayed in that same cabin, just once." I waited. She didn't say anything else. All I could ask was, "Did it happen to you too?" She nodded, just once, then flicked her ash and said, "It doesn't want people there." That was it. She never brought it up again. We've never gone back, and I never will. Whatever it wasn't an animal. It wasn't a person. It was the place. That whole damn town felt like it was sinking under something old and heavy and watching. Like there was a layer of something under the trees, something we're not supposed to see. Story 10. I live in Littleton, just southwest of Denver. Born and raised here. Not the most exciting place in the world, but close enough to the mountains that you get your fix of nature if you want it. I'm not big on camping or hiking, but my dad and stepmom, huge on it. They both grew up in Colorado. Dad's from Golden. Stepmom's from this tiny place called Gold Hill, up in Boulder County. You've probably never heard of it. Most people haven't. A few years ago, they invited me and my girlfriend at the time to dinner with some of their old friends up near Gold Hill. Just a casual thing. My dad rented a car for the weekend, and we were heading up there late afternoon. The sun was already starting to dip, and the shadows from the trees were getting long when we got off the main road. That's when my stepmom suggested the shortcut. Let's take the Ridge Road instead of going through Boulder Canyon, she said. It's prettier, less traffic. My dad hesitated. That road's dirt the whole way. Yeah, but it's fine. It'll save us time. So we turned off onto it. And yeah, right away it went from pavement to compact dirt with long, narrow stretches where if another car came, someone would have to back up. But at first it was fine. Scenic, trees crowding in on both sides. Every now and then, we'd see a mailbox or a house set far back in the woods. Typical mountain stuff. But then the road changed. The packed dirt started breaking up, like deep grooves from old rainstorms, more like canyons in the road than potholes. My dad had to weave around them slowly, sometimes dipping one tire in just to get past. The trees got denser. Everything felt more isolated. There was this feeling like no one had been down that road in a while. Not really, no tire tracks, no sign of maintenance. At one point, we hadn't seen a house or even a turnoff in what felt like 15 minutes. Then we came into a clearing. It wasn't much of one, just a break in the trees, and there was a village there. I don't even know if you call it a village, more like a cluster of houses that had all just given up. Rusted-out pickups and sedans with missing tires sat half-sunken into the ground. Some of the houses had holes in the roofs. One had a tarp instead of a door. There was a clothesline, but nothing hanging from it. Just limp twine and a plastic bag tangled around it like it had been there for years. We slowed way down. My dad didn't say anything, but I could see his jaw tighten. We were all looking out the windows. People were sitting on porches, quiet, just watching us. Not talking, not waving, just watching. I remember this old man with a milky eye, rocking slowly in a wooden chair with no cushion. A woman next to him had a baby on her lap that wasn't moving, just sat there like a doll. Flies circled a bowl on the porch rail. I don't think they blinked. There was this moment, this click in my head, where I realized the silence wasn't normal. There weren't any birds, no wind, just the sound of our tires crunching on the dirt. Every single person had stopped whatever they were doing and turned to look at us. And then I saw him, a guy sitting on the ground near the last house. He was barefoot, playing an old guitar that only had 3 strings. He didn't look up, just kept plucking the same 3 notes over and over. His fingers were bleeding, like actually raw and split. I could see the red from the window, but he didn't seem to notice. "Keep going," my stepmom whispered. My dad nodded and didn't say a word, just kept his eyes forward and drove. We were moving slow, too slow. I wanted him to hit the gas, but the road was so bad that speeding up would have wrecked the undercarriage. Then the dogs came, out of the trees from behind the houses, 4 or 5 of them at first. Then more, skinny matted fur, ribs showing. They ran alongside the car, barking like mad. One of them jumped at the door, scraped the side mirror with its paws. "Don't stop," I said. My voice cracked. "Don't stop the car." "I'm not," my dad said through his teeth. We passed the last house, barely standing. Half its siding was gone, and there was a face in the upstairs window, pale, motionless, just staring as we passed. And just as we started to pull away from the cluster of houses, the guy with the guitar stopped playing. I heard the sound cut off all at once. Then he screamed. It wasn't a normal scream, not pain, not anger. It was wrong, high-pitched but wet, like someone trying to scream underwater. I've never heard anything like it. And when I looked back through the rear window, the others had all stood up at once. All of them, silent, still, just staring at us from the road. And then one of them waved. It wasn't friendly. It was slow, mocking, like they knew we didn't belong there, and they were letting us go for now. We didn't talk until we hit the paved road again. My dad white-knuckled the steering wheel the entire time. "What the hell was that?" I finally asked. No one answered. That night at dinner, my stepmom casually mentioned we'd taken Ridge Road and gotten a little lost. One of her friends, an older guy with a white beard, froze mid-bite. "You didn't take the turn past the old sawmill, did you?" My stepmom blinked. "Yeah, actually. It looked like the right way at the time." He shook his head. "No one goes past the sawmill. That's where Hollow Creek used to be." "Used to be?" I asked. "It got wiped out in the flood back in '76. Whole town just disappeared. A dozen or so people were never found." No one said anything for a few seconds. Then he added, "Even the Forest Service won't go up there anymore. Said the land's bad. Ground never settles right." We didn't say much the rest of the night, and the next day, we took the highway home.